Look at us being all professional and showing up in one shot at Zoom after last time.
Oh, and Kyle, your lip caterpillar's gone.
Yeah, I had a couple of big meetings, and I kind of thought, I probably should get rid of it. So
It's hard.
That's too bad. It's hard to get to the change.
Well, it's hard from experience. It's hard to be taken seriously sometimes with certain facial hair.
Yeah, especially when I don't even take myself very seriously. Yeah. So, yeah.
The first month that we were home in Zoom and I did a homeward meeting, I was wearing a leopard suit. So I'm not sure I can take you seriously or me seriously. So, you know, you got to laugh because otherwise we'll cry, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I am just, let's see. We're waiting on a couple. I think we're waiting on a couple. And I am looking for my script.
Can somebody remind me where our board packets are? Because it's not Marty's email. I just wanted to make sure I opened them.
There was an email.
DS admin, is that where it came from probably?
Yes.
Thanks.
Mine was on December 2nd. Can staff tell me so that I'm not just talking to talk? Is it still, should I still read the welcome script in case people are actually watching?
Yeah, I suppose so. It's proper.
Okay. I'm happy to do that.
People are watching. They probably aren't, but.
And for Heather, so Heather, should I be morning shock jock? Or should I be like NPR? Because I don't have a cup of coffee to sip on.
Tempting. I like both versions. I go shock jock. It's just, technically it's one sign and it's Shields, so.
Hey! All right. There we go. Okay. So, quorum. All right. It is 6:04. It is December 9th. 2020, and welcome to the Design Review Board meeting. For anybody out there watching now or possibly watching later, all of the meeting body members and I believe staff are meeting from secret remote locations. We're holding the meeting virtually, so we'll be doing public comment a little bit differently. We'll have a couple different areas of public comment. Kind of like, I guess if people still call into radio shows or make pledge during telethons, because those that watch us probably do that. I'll call for general public comment on that item. I'll take comments. We'll open the public comment phone lines and we'll give that information out. Each time we call for public comment, we'll put the numbers on the screen, the meeting ID. You may want to write them down. When you call in, you'll be placed into a waiting room, not an actual waiting room. And I'll take the calls in the order they come in. If somebody calls, please mute your TV, computer, anything you're watching on will get an echo. There is a delay. It'll have a few seconds, I think. So we'll take a little bit of time. It's okay to speak right away if you are called upon. And let's get this meeting started. Can we have a roll call of members present to see who's here?
Matt Loomis.
Hey, that's me. Yes.
Kyle Gochi.
Here.
Maria Chestnut.
Present.
Heather McMillan.
Here.
Ryan Smith. He's absent. And Jackie Wallawander.
Here.
That's quorum.
All right, thank you. Good to see everybody and hear those that I can't see. Next, first action item is the approval of minutes from our last meeting, which was November 18th, 2020. Do we have any discussion on those minutes or changes that need to be made, or else I can entertain a motion to approve as they are?
So moved.
Okay, Heather has a motion to approve minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Kyle. We will do a real quick all in favor, please. Oh, any discussion? Sorry. No discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed or no? I think everybody said aye. No abstentions. Okay, thank you. Let me to the next screen. Okay, public comment portion. So this is where anybody out there in YouTube land, you are invited to comment on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. You can register to join the webinar at the website on the screen, or I believe you can leave a public comment voicemail or possibly connect live at 552-6012. And we'll wait about 2 seconds. 1 minute. We'll wait 1 minute. Heather, you found the agenda and everything? Cool. All right. Seeing no public comment, we will move on to staff announcements.
I don't think we have any.
Nothing. All right. Okay. Then we'll move on to public hearings tonight. We have 2901 Brook Street, a comprehensive sign package, part of the Southgate Mall. And Cassie, staff, when you are ready, please go ahead with the staff report.
There we go. Right, so I'm Cassie Trepard, and I'm an associate planner in the Development Services Division of Community Planning, Development, and Innovation. R.L. Engebretson Architects submitted a request for a comprehensive sign package review on behalf of Shields. And Shields is a retail store located in the southwestern portion of Southgate Mall. The Shields sign package can be reviewed independently from the rest of the mall because it's on its own parcel. It is not open yet, but a building permit to improve the space was approved earlier this year, and the parcel has frontage on one public right-of-way, Mary Avenue. The north and west facades are also considered building frontages because they face parking. The parcel is zoned C1-4, neighborhood commercial. The rest of Southgate Mall is also zoned C1-4. Retail as well as accessory uses and Shields are permitted in the C1-4 zoning district. The county property information system shows pink lines across the Southgate Mall site. This is because Shields recently went through a boundary line relocation to align the lot lines with the store so that it could be under different ownership from the rest of the mall. And the pink lines shown on the map have nothing to do with zoning. They're just placed on the software that we pull the maps from. The Missoula 2035 City Growth Policy recommends a land use designation of regional commercial and services and community mixed use for the subject property. The regional commercial and services land use designation describes areas characterized by uses with special or extensive land use needs and impacts. It encompasses uses with large land requirements and uses which are automobile or regional retail related. The community mixed use land use designation describes areas which are characterized by uses that serve the larger community as well as adjacent neighborhoods. A broad range of functions, including retail, education, financial institutions, professional and personal services, offices, residential, and general service activities typify this designation. Shields is proposing a total of 5 signs. 4 of the signs are wall signs and 1 is a canopy sign. Sign type A is a wall sign and will be located on the north, west, and south facades. The canopy sign will be located on the south facade above the main entry and is shown here as sign type B. And sign type C is a wall sign that will be located on the west facade. Okay, so sign type A is a 300 square foot wall sign. It will read Shields in red plexiglass channel letters and will be internally illuminated with LED lights. And here you can see sign type A on the southwest and north facades. Title 20 states one wall sign is permitted on each building frontage. So wall signs in the C1-4 zoning district can be a maximum area of 50 square feet plus 1 square foot for each foot of building frontage in excess of 50 feet. So this means the 300-foot long building frontage would allow a 300 square foot sign. The southwest and north building frontages are all over 300 feet long, which would each permit a 300 square foot sign. And the size of sign type A complies with Title 20 zoning code. So sign type B is a 77 square foot canopy sign. It will be located on the south facade above the entry. The canopy sign will read shields in red plexiglass channel letters and will be internally illuminated with LED lights. Canopy signs do not count toward the maximum number of wall signs allowed. They may be placed on the same frontage as a wall sign. However, Title 20 limits canopy signs to 10 square feet. The applicant is proposing a 77 square foot sign, which does not comply with Title 20 zoning code. And the canopy sign draws attention to the entryway. The south facade is the only facade that faces a public right-of-way. However, the building is set back from Mary Avenue because there is a large parking lot between the street and the building. Sign type C is a 35.75 square foot wall sign. It will be located on the west facade in addition to wall sign type A. Sign type C will be located over the entry on the west facade, and the sign will be on black aluminum cabinet with white lettering and will be internally illuminated with LED lights. This sign will draw attention to the portion of the store that sells bikes. The size of the sign complies with Title 20, which would allow 342 square feet, 342 square foot sign on the west facade. However, Title 20 only allows one wall sign per building frontage, and the applicant is proposing to place 2 wall signs on the west frontage. But if you combine the areas of the 2 signs on the west facade, they still fall under the maximum wall sign area allowed. So in summary, Title 20 would allow 3 wall signs for shields, but the applicant is proposing 4. All of the wall signs comply with the maximum area requirements, and Title 20 requires that canopy signs be a maximum area of 10 square feet. The applicant is proposing a 77 square foot canopy on the south facade. Okay, so staff recommends that the Design Review Board approve the comprehensive sign package for shields at 2901 Brook Street based on the findings of fact and testimony heard at the public hearing, subject to 2 conditions of approval. The first condition states that all signage requires approval of sign permit by Development Services. Development Services will base the permit approval on the sign package approved by the Design Review Board. Signage shall not be modified or additional signs added beyond what was approved by the Design Review Board without resubmittal of an application and approval from the Design Review Board. And the second condition states any applicable electrical, building, and sign permits shall be obtained prior to installation of the signs. And both of these conditions are standard for sign packages. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any initial questions for staff?
I have a couple, just one clarification. The 77 square foot sign is considered a canopy sign because it's on the bump out entrance. I guess kind of doesn't seem like a canopy sign to me in the traditional sense. And so just wondering if you have some clarification.
Oh, sorry, let me get out of this. I can go to the Title 20 definition of a canopy sign, but it does seem to include those. Let me find it. So let's see, it defines a canopy as a permanent roof-like shelter constructed of some durable materials such as metal, glass, plastic, or fabric that may be freestanding or attached to the building. So that does seem to fall under that bump out portion.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then my other question for you too, sometimes it's helpful in analyzing these to know what the square footage was of the existing signage on that building. And in this one, you know, the previous department store, do we have any idea what that square footage was?
I tried to find permits for the JCPenney's that was there before, and it's so old that we didn't seem to have anything on file.
Gotcha.
I couldn't find any Design Review Board records of it at all, but yeah.
Thank you.
I know it hasn't come to us. Well, yeah, that's a really good question, Kyle. I know JCPenney hasn't been in the last dozen years. I know just from speaking with people, it's signs have been relocated on the building. Some have been reduced, some have been enlarged, but Kyle's totally right. I think, and I know we're dealing with different frontages. I mean, multiple frontages, sorry. Although it looks like the exterior of the building's really staying the same. They had 3 or 4 signs. I think 2 of their larger, I don't know 300 square feet or not. I couldn't tell. And then I know there's 1 or 2 smaller ones.
I remember a big one on the south and west facade, but past that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
It does. Yeah. It's honestly the scope of this, or the just lineal feet, seems like a lot, but we've done big box stores, and not to use that as a negative term. So maybe it's just because, to me, this is part of a larger building, larger roof line. It's a big project for the mall, at least. And if you compare it with across what's now Mary Avenue, there's multiple tenants. And Cassie, I don't think that's an easily accessible thing for you to find, like Bed Bath & Beyond, things like that.
Those might be, they're newer than JCPenney's, but I haven't looked into it. But one thing about this project is those 300 square foot wall signs actually comply with zoning.
Oh, totally. I guess I'm just looking at scale, really. I know that Cost Plus came to us, and I don't think there was a problem because of the buildings that were on each side of them.
The other one that this reminded me of too, Matt, was Lucky's Market. They also came across us a few years back, and we granted them a variance as well.
And at the time, a lot of work for that. Yeah. At the time, and they were asking for Beyond the Moon, and we did find a compromise. I think it was still more than I preferred, and one of the compromises that worked for me was that a lot of the ancillary signs were not lit, but the main ones were, and that's that was the important part. So one thing, not really a question, but one thing, I guess, just for the board, before we go to the applicants, we've discussed this many times over the years. Multiples of the same exact sign on the same frontage, and every board's a little bit different. I'm not saying it hasn't been allowed. I know it's typically the city does not really approve of that, or they suggest alternatives. Now, this is considered a canopy sign. I think it sounds like a really a really broad definition. So, Cassie, I think you're right, but it's a broad definition. And I'm not trying to mess with trade dress or branding, but we deal with this multiple times a year, where it's not our job, and it's not the city's job to change things so that because that's what your company policy is, and so when an applicant comes in and says, but we always do this, that's a good way to kind of say the wrong thing. For the designers and whatnot out there, what do you guys think?
I appreciate that, Matt. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Heather.
We'll say Heather.
Okay. I agree with you. I struggle when I know that a chain store or such store that has more than one store has a variety of different signs in they have different building types, and they comply with a lot of different regulations in a lot of different communities, and it's not all one thing. So I think you're right to say, well, we did it somewhere, we always do this, doesn't hold any water with me either. But I do think in looking at the facade, the proportions, and the difference with the canopy, whether we want to define it as a canopy or not, this is kind of an odd, there's 3 main faces because of the nature of the building. And so I like what they've done. I don't think that it's overdone or an abuse of anything. And as Cassie said, the main signs are all compliant. So really, we're not really voting on that. So when you go to look at the canopy or the fourth sign, I think it's done tastefully. And I think that it calls what's hard about a 3 facade building and you want to call entry. This helps call entry.
Yeah.
Wayfinding for me. So this is, I would assume, their main entry point, or would want it to be. And we're in the process of seeing them all redeveloped into a modern, more responsive to, exterior and pedestrian connections. And I think it falls in line with that. So I don't have any issue with it.
Okay.
So, but I do think, a lot of stores can have different things on the shelf that they can pull out in response. It's not just a blanket. Everything has to look the same. You can brand and be tasteful about it with design standards. So.
And in fairness, or just for more background, it was a lot more stringent under Title 19. There was a pizza place where honestly it was staff who proposed. They had the name of the pizza brand, which pizza is in the name, and then they had other we sell beer, we sell wings, we sell this, and pizza was repeated twice more on the building. And it was even staff that said, we'll let you have these extra signs, but can you say something else? And that was the compromise, because I don't know if Title 19 called it out, but from a design standpoint, and I'm not a designer, I agreed with that part, that it was just redundant. Use your wall space for something else. I'm not suggesting something that, Shields, just put sports on it. I'm not saying that. Kyle?
No, Heather, you literally took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing. I think usually it makes my skin crawl when an applicant says, "Oh, this is our standard. This is what we normally do," and they're not saying that. We're putting words in their mouth, but I'm very familiar with Shields, the Billing store, the Great Falls store, and this kind of is their. Like all the stores look like this, and so it is kind of their brand for the exterior. That aside, I think given the size of the scale of these frontages, they seem appropriate to me.
Okay.
And I totally agree with what Heather said about the wayfinding pedestrian aspect of the whole thing, especially as it relates to the canopy sign. So big thumbs up from me.
I did have a question, just so you guys know, you were talking about the JCPenney before. I was flying around it on Google Earth, and they do have, it looks like about a 30-foot sign that just says JCPenney on both the north and south walls. And then 2 of the same JCPenney signs on the west wall. And they all look exactly the same and just say JCPenney in white letters.
Thanks,
and
Maria.
My question is for staff, Cassie, is just, you said, we agree that you should, get behind the sign package. My understanding is really the only one we're majorly discussing is the canopy one. We don't really have control over the other ones, except for the fact that, the Trek sign and the Shield sign have to be an additive thing, which we usually that's typically something we don't fight too much. But why were you okay with the canopy sign? It didn't seem like you had much background as to why you recommended we be okay with it.
It was the same reason as Heather. I think that, these larger signs, they match up on all sides, but this one really calls out that entry, which is facing Mary Avenue. I've been working in the Hellgate area way too much lately. That, and this sign is set back a long way from Mary Avenue. You're looking at 250 feet or maybe a bit more between the actual street and the building. So when you're driving by, I feel like even though it's a large sign, it's still drawing attention from that distance to the entry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10 square feet seems like, what could you even do with that given this parking lot?
Yeah,
volume?
it's more that's really when you're, say, downtown up walking next to the canopy as opposed to something set back like this.
Okay.
And Maria, I want to hear from Jackie too, but Maria, just a reminder, we talked about this last meeting. I know you had to miss that. Even though, the large 300 square foot Shield signs on their own would not need to come here. But one of the things about the design review board is everything is now up for discussion. So I am not suggesting that
Oh.
that we reduce that, but we could. So yeah, basically, and this is a little bit different because it's a new building. We see a lot of them where they want to add or subtract or change or tweak. And what it does there, like with the Albertsons packages we had, what it does there is it honestly opens up a whole can of changing anything. So we could say this, that, or the other, but basically they're here for the Canopy sign and the Trek sign, though.
Perfect.
Jackie, did you have something to add about just the size, scope, duplication?
It doesn't look great. It's weird. It's just I don't know. It's very strange to have two signs right next to each other of one's big and one's small. I mean, I don't know what you do different, but it doesn't look great.
Maybe that was my thing, the proximity, but based on how the facade is, that's sort of how it lines up. I'd like to invite the applicant, but do we have other questions for staff before we do?
I have a question. I mean, could we say you're okay with 77 square feet, but we don't want it to look the same? Is that I mean, do we even get to have that opinion?
Per Title 20, it does say that we can't regulate content for free speech reasons. So I would be hesitant to change up the content of the signs. That's one of the purposes of the sign code that we have in the review criteria for the report.
Okay, thank you.
And
Well, that is an interesting question because, it's like when you were bringing up the pizza situation and, can you say something else? We have lots of shields and nothing that says sporting goods or what they are.
And that's, honestly, the freedom of speech thing, I believe that was born out of a lawsuit in another state from a couple years ago. And it was something that the city, I think, acted proactively on it to basically, shoot. There used to be rules, and there may still be, about we can't dictate color. I think that might have changed a little bit. And that is a tricky one because I don't want to tell a company that you have to brand it this way or you have to brand it that way. But Cassie, yeah, you bring up a really good point. I think I don't know. I think you're right. I don't know if we could say the square footage is fine, but not the message, because it's not.
Yeah, I think we can regulate placement, size. But it doesn't say anything about color, so I don't think that's off, things we can do. But the content, I think we have to stay away from regulating content.
We could suggest smaller, but Cassie brought up a good point about, I mean, to me, it's facing a parking lot. I don't think of Mary Avenue as a street frontage, but it is.
Technically.
However, there's a giant 300 square foot sign next to it. So if they're not going to see that one, they're not going to see the Canopy sign. That's my only thing. But I'm not saying it looks bad. It was just a duplication, and maybe it's my brain adjusting to, well, this is just how things are.
Careful, Matt. I designed Mary Avenue.
Oh, no, I'm not.
It's a wonderful street. It's a wonderful street, Kyle.
Change it.
It is. It's a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Circulation.
No.
So.
Well, Kyle, impressive. No, you don't know how much time I spent nerding out on that whole project about they're doing what? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And it wasn't an easy project. I know that much.
It's not hard to it's not easy to redevelop a change in land use. I mean, the massing of the building. I mean, it's a hard problem to solve. So
yes.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I was thinking of it so simply as wayfinding, because it really still is a big vast sea of parking defined way. It's being broken into pieces, and for me, those don't look the same. They're inherently different and they're layered differently. I know they both say shields, don't get me wrong, but I guess that's why I was comfortable with it in that particular context. I can see where you guys would want to be particular about, repeating pizza, all those pieces. And this just feels different because of the depth difference and the intent of that pedestrian wayfinding. So it's only because of the conditions it's in that I'm not questioning it, I guess. So, but it's a good conversation to have.
Cassie, do you know or have an estimate on, I guess, how far forward that canopy is pushed out from the plane of the wall?
I would have to look back at the building permit. Does anyone from the development team have an estimate? They might have to be an analyst to speak.
In that case, this is probably a good time. We'll invite the applicant, whoever's representing them today. Please go ahead, mic up and introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Tiffany Tripke. I'm part of the design team here from RL Langebretson. We have other team members with me as well, but I was just trying to pull up here, Cassie, and to see how far that sticks out. I know we wanted to stay behind the curb line of the existing curb there into the parking lot. So on typical, or however you want to say, we might have gone out a little farther, but with this one, we didn't want to extend out into the drive lane. So we can pull that up here to see, but another one of the canopy, and trying to draw attention to that, as Heather had talked about, is we closed an adjacent mall entrance, and if you can kind of see there in Cassie's image that she had, we have the ephes and the low stone, and that was a mall entrance, and so we wanted to make sure that we take attention away from that, and so people are very used to going there for many years, and bringing that over to the Shields entrance. And wayfinding, as we talked about, and I get it, and I appreciate your guys, we have the same sign, just a different scale, saying the exact same thing. It's not telling us anything different, but the levels of where you're approaching that from, that Shields, that 300 square foot, we're trying to hit that Mary Avenue out there where we're driving, those customers that are driving by. The existing J.C. Penney's did have a sign located real close to that vicinity, which we thought that was great. Obviously, they showed the right signage on the right frontage to get the right attention. And then, once those people are getting into the parking lot and they're getting up closer, to have that sign to demarc that entry there.
Thank you. Otherwise, this is, normally this is when the applicant would kind of present themselves, we know the project, but this is the time for, if you guys want to add anything, or
I don't think they
ask
had a
questions of us.
presentation planned, but
Okay.
yeah, they are here for questions, any other information we need. Sorry, I pulled up the building permit, but our software is very slow, and I know it would take me probably 10 minutes to find it at least.
No, that's fine. And
Cassie, if I'm spitballing and looking at a graphic and maybe guessing, I'm saying 20, 30 feet. I don't know. You're working with those constraints. It's pretty significant. I just don't, scale wise, I would say about 20 feet. I might be guessing wrong.
And I'm guessing 15 to 20 just based on where the curb is. But in the application, there is a plot plan, and it does show the bump out in relation to the existing building.
I'd point out too, detail number 2 on their elevations, the second elevation down. On that west elevation, you can kind of get a good idea how big that is visually.
10, 15.
Hi, this is Heather Oliveri with RLE, and it's 19 foot 3 inches from the canopy to that bump out to the back.
Thank you.
Bigger sign.
I think Heather McMillan has calibrated her eyes here recently. That's pretty spot on.
Or maybe I'm really good at faking it, but I could tell. And I also live real close here, so I can appreciate the fact that you guys were working within the constraints, trying to keep it back from the curb line. It's a parking lot entrance, but you're also trying to change people are creatures of habit. And so I appreciate you guys closing that entrance, and you have to retrain people. And so I get it. I don't want to be repeating names and words and things like that. But if I'm coming up here, I'm new, or I've been here 20 years, the big Shield sign says that's where I'm going. And when I park my car, I'm not looking at that anymore. I need to know where to go to walk in. And so that's what that other sign does. And so there's just differentiating layers of wayfinding, and not trying to oversimplify it, but I guess that's how I look at this and why I'm okay with the way it lays out, and that it says Shields because, there's a different bike entrance, that's where Trek is. So I like that sign too. So
I have a question. This is Matt, for the applicant, and it might help us out a little bit. I just kind of feel better about it. Is this this is your only entrance to Shields itself? Is that correct? Out of the 3 frontages, taking the Trek side apart?
Yes, this is Tiffany Tripke again. And yes, this is the main store entrance where customers would enter. There is an employee entrance on the north side of the building. But for the most part, this is the main entrance. And on the back, or on the north side, if you want to say, there was a mall entrance on that side too that was also closed off. And there's no signage near that one, but this is the main for all customers to enter in. And then just within the mall itself. So.
One thing I think I'm seeing right too is just that south side where that Trek sign is, that's actually about 200 feet back. It's just that you can't really see it in this view, but that wall is actually like set way back. So that's not on the same plane. That won't really be seen
it
when
kind
you're
of
looking at
sits
these.
diagonal.
Mhm. Oh, it's on the little diagonal piece too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Jackie, my mind's been running around because I do think those signs are really close together. And I'm not saying it doesn't fit that way, but yeah, everyone's going to be new to this, whether you're from in town or out of town. And considering JCPenney's had, I think, 4 unique entrances.
Inside.
So, well, okay, yeah, I guess so. So exterior entrances, this has one. And so I know it's kind of the best practice to have an identifier at your main entrance. It makes sense. I think it's really necessary, honestly, in this case, because they're limiting it to that one entrance. I think it makes a lot of sense now, the more I think about it.
There's actually not a lot of other wall they could put it on, to be honest with you, because when you go to the left of that canopy sign, you only have that tan wall, that brick wall is way back. And that would be just as close. And then, the only thing they could do is move it behind those flags right there, but that's recessed back about 10 feet too. So.
Yeah. I do have a question also. In the elevations, are those statues just placeholders, or are they actually going to be there?
This is Tiffany Tripke again. Yes, those are actual bronze statues that will be there. They're 2.5 times life size.
Okay. And then I guess real quick for staff, I don't really have a problem with it. Are they not considered public art, which would then be considered a sign?
I know building graphics and like murals DRB has to go through. Let me double check for statues. I don't think it has anything about sculptures. I know they're not considered signs. They don't carry a commercial message. They're more art. Let's see. Have you guys reviewed statues before?
The last one I can remember was I think it was Kiesel's Fly Shop, which isn't there anymore, on South Reserve Street, and it was a fish sculpture. And what happened? They had gone out of business, and a cabinet business, which was in the rear of the building, was taking over the front, and they were, I believe, leaving the statues, so it was considered part of their sign package. This was years ago, so things may have changed. That's where my thought comes from.
The other one I recall too, Matt, is when we reviewed McKinsey River way back, and the drift boat out front was included in the sign package, and that ended up not even getting installed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a drift boat. I'm new to the sign team here, but that would have been nice.
Would have been cool. Yeah, it was neat. It was like integrated into their landscaping. These statues, though, on the subject of the statues, they are super cool, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, having been to other Shield stores, for example, the Billings one that I mentioned earlier, super cool. My kids love them. Sit next to them. I always want the picture taken when you go inside next to the statue. So,
I think it's a reference to building graphics, which is defined as something affixed to the building.
Okay.
Or
it's an interesting thing I don't know code wise, and like you said, what's covered, but I mean, this is a very interesting way to fix a very bland building. So I hope that they're part of the sign package. I just don't know if we've gotten that integrated in the sign package review of the public art, but I'm hoping that if you're doing a redevelopment of a building like this, that you could incorporate those things. I'm with Kyle. I know the other stores, and I think they do look really nice.
I guess I just want to make sure it's a non-issue.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so that we don't have to come back here or the applicant doesn't have an 11th hour, you know, something. But
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere
Okay.
referenced design or building graphic. I might want to check in with my manager and see why you guys used to review those. How long ago was that approximately?
Mackenzie River, what, 4 or 5?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, McKinsey
Okay,
River.
so not too old.
It was still Title 20, I think.
Yep, it was.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
But hey, if it's not an issue, it's not an issue. Anything else from the applicant? Okay. Questions for Kyle? Was your last hurrah?
I know, right? My last meeting. One more thing to add for the record. Normally, yeah, if you know me from my 6 years on the board, I echo the precedents and how I don't want to set a precedence. However, I feel like that precedence has already kind of been set with, you know, like I mentioned earlier, Lucky's Market and Bed Bath & Beyond on the other side, and then the JCPenney's previously. And so I feel like this would not be setting a precedence. The other thing too is I'm always a stickler for when commercial fronts residential. However, at this particular site, we have the railroad tracks that have a pretty good grade relief that kind of acts as a buffer between this parcel and the residential on the other side of the railroad tracks. And so those are normally two huge sticking points for me, and I see them as a non-issue on this application, in my opinion.
All right. Any further questions for the applicants? Okay. Let's see. If none, I believe this is when we would ask for public comment on this topic on the comprehensive sign review package. So let's see. We will put the call in info on the screen in just a moment. If anybody does have question, comment, want you to be heard, I think we would have heard if there were any pre-meeting comments or concerns. I was just looking, I couldn't remember. I didn't think there were any comments from city agencies or the neighborhood, and there are not. Okay, with no public comment, that closes public comment portion. All right, board discussion, or at any time board members can ask questions of the applicant or make a motion of some type.
I'll move that we approve the sign packages recommended by staff.
All right, so we have a motion by Heather. We have a second from Kyle to approve the staff's recommended action subject to the 2 conditions of approval, which are pretty boilerplate. Any discussion on the motion or on the project? All right, we have none. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Matt Loomis,
Yes.
Kyle Gauchi,
Yes.
Maria Chestnut,
Yes.
Heather McMillan,
Yes.
Ryan Smith is absent, and Jackie Wallawander.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
All right, thank you, staff. Thank you to the board, and thank you to the applicant. We'll let you get on with the more important thing of, getting it built. So thank you for your time and your application, and it's a pretty great site plan. I think we're all excited for it.
What one last question? What's the projected opening date? We always kind of like
I was
to know
waiting for that. Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
We will, and this is Josh Reamer with Shield. We're going to open the store on October 2nd.
All right.
Fantastic. Good luck, you guys. Just love you guys as a good, strong Montana company and appreciate you coming to Missoula. Good luck.
Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. We appreciate the time, and we're definitely looking forward to getting into the market. So thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda now is old business. Is there any old business? None. Okay. Is there any new business? I don't know if it's new or old. I'm sorry, Cassie, and I should have. I didn't realize who was the planner who would be here, so I should have just emailed you, and I can do that later. Do you happen to know, or should I email you or ask somebody, the Winco, the former Shopco location that has 2 large signs on one frontage that are advertising the same business?
All that since I drove by the other week, because I mean, it's possible one of the other planners approved a permit, but considering it doesn't seem to meet code and I didn't do it, and that was my project, yeah, I need to contact code compliance and see if they got a permit, because I don't think they did.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind keeping me in the loop on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, I'll update you, and
Thank
if
you.
they didn't, I'm sure we'll see it here.
I think we'd be happy to talk to them.
Yeah, Cassie, if you'd let the whole board know, because I was curious about that too, because I figured that had been permitted during the time, at least I'd been around in the last year or so. I was curious how it met or complied, so.
Yeah, like I said, that was my project, so I'd be surprised if there was a permit that didn't come to me. So I don't think they have one, but
well, and I could have sworn, I know you'll find, I could have sworn when I went to Building Eye that there are sign permits. I think QRS did it, but who it went through, I don't know.
I mean, we have 3 new planners, so it's possible. And they look like they do line up with the old signs, but I think I saw 2 wall signs when I drove by.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. We'll figure more about
I'll
that.
I'll email you.
I'd like to see that too.
And then my only other comment, so I can beat Heather to it, is thank you, Kyle, for your service.
Exactly.
It's weird. We can't. One of the weird things with this style of public board or committee is you can't ask them to come back and pinch hit, because you got to be confirmed and all that. So I appreciate 6 years, you said, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I know you've got lots of work ahead of you, and you're going to be. I think you're in town, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thanks, Matt, and thanks everyone. I really enjoyed my time, and I'm excited for the new year for you guys, because it sounds like you have a lot of applicants for the board. So
cool.
Good to see some new faces when I'm watching you guys on YouTube. I'll be your first person actually watch and call in, maybe. So
I'm trying to decide if that's a good or bad thing, Kyle, that you'll be watching on YouTube.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So have they chosen the next members yet?
Not yet. That'll. I mean, it's everything's been running behind, but
Okay.
I don't know if the application period has closed. I honestly don't know. I think I just got a generic, because I had to reapply. I just got a generic. We got your application. So my guess is no action will happen until after the first of the year. It's actually fairly common for no action to happen for 3 to 6 months into the new year. We'll see. As chair, if we don't have enough people, that's going to be an issue. In fact, no, I won't be chair because I won't be on the board.
I had to reapply too, and we're supposed to be interviewed for it. And so, do we attend January?
Yeah. So, thank you. Maria, sounds like you didn't have to. You're still on, and Jackie, you didn't have to reapply.
I didn't get anything.
You already re-upped. Cool. So
actually, technically, I reapplied in January and did an interview at that point and never heard whether they accepted it or not. And I'm still here, and they asked me to reapply, and I said, well, what about that interview I did in February? And they said, oh yeah, we can use that.
I never got reconfirmed when I applied a year and a half ago. But someone from staff did say, don't quote me, I believe they had talked with the city attorney's office on, okay, what do we do? And I believe, unlike the presidency, we kind of stay until we're told not to. That's not to be political. That's just a fact.
You're fired.
So until someone else is appointed to replace us, sorry, Kyle, I guess you're still on. So yes, please, Heather. I mean, I will plan on attending. I mean, I never stopped getting the emails. So I just,
true.
kept doing it. But if I hear otherwise, I will let everyone know. Yeah.
Cassie, is there an applicant for January?
Not that I'm aware of. Let me check the intakes folder, but no one's said anything.
Makes it easier.
Yeah. Oh gosh, everything's so slow. There we go. All the time. See intakes.
Harold, the excitement builds. You could still be coming.
Okay, we have intakes. I'll ask staff tomorrow if they have anything planned or if these are just sort of on hold for now.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from board members?
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
You'll be missed.
Yeah, thank you.
May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Second.
Take
No,
it back.
no. That's you.
Take it back.
Seconded by Kyle. He gets the last word. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nobody opposed. Nobody abstaining. Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And hope to see you all next year.
Merry Christmas.
And Maria, say hi to, I assume, who was your daughter.
Yeah.
They're super cute. Thank you for that.
Yeah, they love these green screens. They duck in and duck out and put their hands in. Oh yeah, Kyle was on that one too. So.
Yeah, that previous.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Good night, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.